girl. Hello.
How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and get us started. I'm gonna do the introduction, and then we can jump right in.
Okay.
Cool. So, hello everybody. I'm Jarima from Burst into Books. As you know, monthly we do a segment called Lit Talk, where we're able to focus in on particular reading and writing skills to help kids of all ages. Since our organization spans from 6 months up to 13-year-olds, all the different lit talks that we have are geared toward those age ranges. So today, I am extremely excited to have my friend Darnisha on, as she's going to address a question that was posed by a parent earlier last week when I was surveying what should be our lit talk be for March. So I'm gonna have her just go ahead and first, before we get started with the tips, share a little bit about herself, share about her background, and then just like what the topic is, and then we'll jump right in.
Okay. Hi everybody. My name is Darnisha Monson. I am a teacher. Both my degrees are in English and reading. So my bachelor's degree is in English from English education from Illinois State, and my master's degree is a master's of arts and education with a reading specialist license. So I can teach high school English, and then I can also act as a reading specialist for grades K through 12.
Very cool. And so the topic that I posed to her, which she'll talk about in a second, is just about phonemic awareness. And so one of the questions that a parent asks is like, how can you help your child grasp this concept? Because as we know, that can be something that kids struggle with. It could seem like it's something that our younger babies will only struggle with, but it's also something that our older kids struggle with as well. And so today, Darnisha is going to tackle and give some strategies about first, what is phonemic awareness? Because you may think that's the same thing as phonics or other skills. And then what are some things you could do at home to help your child with that concept? So I'm going to just give it on over to you, Darnisha.
Okay, so phonemic awareness is being able to distinguish between letter sounds and the name of the letter. So, for example, you have the letter A, and the name of it is letter A, but then the sound it can be short or long. Same thing. So that would go for any of the vowels in the alphabet. Then you have the consonants, and then you have C. A C, which is a consonant, can be a hard sound or soft sound. So a C can be a hard like K or soft like S. So that's the difference between the two meanings of phonetic awareness.
Cool. So when we think, so thank you. So when we think about how does this connect to reading, right? That's huge because when it comes to not only reading and spelling, that is something that our babies can struggle with from elementary, even my son's age, all the way up to the high schoolers that we even struggle with. And so I guess one thing I would ask is what would you say? Would the strategy change depending on the age, or does it really just is across the board could be the same thing?
I don't think the strategies would change in terms of the age. I think how you practice could change with age, but because there are students even at the high school level who don't know how to read, and you have to start at very introductory or fundamental levels in order to teach them how to read. So the first thing that you can do in order to help your student to grasp phonetics is to teach them the alphabet, and they have to grasp the alphabet, because if you can't first identify the letter names again and the letter sounds, then you can't go beyond that. So if you don't know that that again an A can sound like ah or then you won't be able to grasp any other words in the language that have the letter A in it. Same thing for those consonant sounds and the other vowel sounds as well. So you first have to teach your child or your student how to grasp, or have to teach them to grasp the alphabet. And then the next thing, because the English language can be super confusing to the point where you might have the word kite and the word can, and their kite starts with a K and can starts with a C, but both of the beginning of those words sound the exact same, but it's two different letters. So then you have to teach your child how to distinguish between those hard and soft sounds when it's a consonant, and then those short and long sounds when it's a vowel. The biggest thing that I think works is obviously practice and recognition and memorization and repetition. There really is no easy way out. There's no what can I say? There's no shortcut. There's no special hidden formula. It's really you have to first recognize and be aware of a couple of things and know those things and grasp those concepts, again, such as the alphabet and those different sounds of the letters in the alphabet. And then you have to just practice, repeat, try different activities to work on those skills.
Got you. So I would say if I was a parent and I'm thinking about now, like if my child is younger, like kindergarten, first grade, that's pretty much, or even preschool, to be honest, that's kind of like when they're introduced to it, right? So it doesn't seem remedial for me to be like, okay, look at this card. What does this mean? Okay, that's practice. But I would say even in your, like in our line of work and what we do, like how would you advise a parent, like my child's in 7th grade, I mean, or my child is a high schooler, and I know it has to be something why they're not reading correctly. It may be comprehension. It may be all these different things. But like, how would they be able to know that is actually what the issue is?
So you have to start somewhere. So even though it may seem like if you have an older child that's in 7th, 8th grade or high school, it may seem silly. But again, start with the basics, making sure that they know how each letter sounds, how each letter is supposed to operate in the alphabet, that they can identify each letter. And then go on and just practice. Like, it's going to seem so silly and so remedial, but even with older kids, and it just seems so because the kid is older and because they should know. But if you have a student that's of that older age and they still have not grasped the concept of reading, you have to start at those basic fundamental levels in order to build them up. So it's the same thing with math. If we have a student, I do see students at the high school level, they can't add or subtract properly. And you have to start at those basic fundamental levels to figure out what they do know and where you need to start them at. The other thing, too, is that I think this is super, super important. We cannot, as parents, wait until our child gets in school for them to learn those basics. So when your child, even though they may not be able to speak or articulate, when they are young, you can start introducing them to the letters of the alphabet, to the sounds, and even just in your conversation, like somebody probably not gonna like this, but baby talk. Like baby talk, it can be detrimental in some ways. You can talk to a baby like you would talk to a regular person who can understand you. Obviously, the baby will not understand you, but even in their mind, as their mind is growing and building and learning, they can start to get those things working into their own brains as their brains grow and develop. So I'm not saying cut the baby talk completely, because it's cute and it's fun, but maybe just minimize that. And then also the learning does have to start at home. Like, you can get flashcards. Once your kid gets to the age, if they like to be playing on the phone a lot, put on videos for them, or put them into apps, or use it with them, so they can do different apps and games that can reinforce what they're learning. You definitely don't want to wait until your child gets in school to teach them what they're supposed to know. You start that at home, and it can be very simple as flashcards, or learn the letters of the alphabet. It can be as simple as those little I forget what they're called, but just those small books, those really, really small books with they're like kind of hardcover. The books. I forget what they're called, but like starting with those small books, but it does help a whole ton of a lot better if you are starting some type of foundation at home.
Yeah, I love the point you made about the baby talk, because even with our book clubs, like our book club starts with 6-month-year-olds, and I remember that was just like a question people asked, like, hey, what are the babies doing? Like, what in that course? I'm like, well, it's so important that they're listening to how someone reads to them, and they're able to see the connection between the pictures and all of that. And just so you even saying, I think when we're as parents reading to our babies, we want to, it is a loving and, real cool moment, but it's like them understanding that their kids is actually learning, like they're taking in what you're saying. So
like a
it's
sponge.
important to enunciate, and that you're emphasizing what those words mean, because as they grow and start to learn to read, that's actually their first introduction to how to say those words. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Yeah.
So some of the things that I think that parents can use as resources at home, one of my favorite things when I was working with younger age groups was to use a website called Reading Rockets. It's free. They have a ton of different resources that you can use. It's more, it's a variety of resources and strategies, and you don't have to be, as a parent, you don't have to be an educator to teach your child that. Some of this stuff is so simple that you can just do it at home with your kid, and you don't need like the assistance of a teacher. So Reading Rockets is one. Another one is scholastic.com. They have a ton of stuff on there. Reading Rockets is free.
Okay.
Scholastic.com, I'm not sure if they're free. But scholastic.com is another one similar to Reading Rockets, but again, Reading Rockets is like my number one choice.
Okay.
Another one that parents can leverage is apps and games. There are a ton of different learning apps out there. Like, again, we're on our phones so much and our
Yep.
iPads and our computers. Put that to use with your child and allow them to and work with them on an app or some type of game that will reinforce whatever they're learning and that will teach them. And so it can, if you're not able to do it as much with your child as you want to, then that app can kind of help fill in the gaps, what you're not able to teach with them. And then YouTube is a huge one. I know there's been some controversy on and off about YouTube. But again, I think that YouTube can still be an effective tool in order to teach us different things. And if you decide to use YouTube or anything else that's on the internet, just monitor it with your child so that you know exactly
Exactly.
what's going to come up. Maybe preview it before, so view the whole thing before your child gets to it. But those are some as well. And then outside of all of those, your biggest tool is just going to be the internet in general. Just searching, like, if you can, these days you can literally type whatever your question is and something will come up, and eventually leads you to your other practice, to whatever you're looking for. The other thing I will say is there are a lot of other resources out there that are really only accessible by educators. So something else that you can also do is you can always go into your student's school and you can ask the teachers or whoever, the librarian who's in charge, if there's any resources that they recommend as well that they either are not using or something that they can make copies of for you. Like there are some there are systems out there. There's one really, really great system that I love. It's called Fountas and Pinnell. Again, I think pretty sure you have to be an educator in order to purchase Fountas and Pinnell, and it's expensive anyway. But if you have, if you know that your school uses Fountas and Pinnell, you can always ask them to maybe make you some copies of the resources that they're using from that system, because though that system has leveled books. I mean, it has so many. I love Fountas and Pinnell. Now that's a really good, really, really, really good system. So that's one that I would recommend as well.
Cool. Well, I just wanted to say thank you for just the tips that you gave. I think the biggest thing that we take away from this conversation is that phonemic awareness is just a daily thing, even in us in conversations. When you're at the store, like, you're trying to be like, what does that word mean? Like, you as a parent, emphasizing what those words mean and having them repeated, and like maybe even point out as you're shopping things for them to read out. It doesn't have to be so static as far as reading a book. And then the biggest thing with our babies doing that they're going to learn the first ways of doing anything from their parents or whoever's reading them. So just emphasizing that time. And then if they're older, well, it's okay. If they're older, they still can get to those basic skills because it's necessary. They can't create and extend their learning if they don't even have the foundation. So being able to use those skills and those resources. When we end this live, it would be beautiful if you could, like, in the comments, put those websites that you said. And that way, if parents didn't get to catch it in the video, they can just go to it. And also, you all, I know that in the past, like, people are able to watch these videos later and you have more questions. Put them in the comments below and we'll both see it. And between myself or Darnisha, we'll come back and answer any questions you may have that are more specific to your particular child. But thank you for taking your time on this Sunday afternoon.
No problem.
All right, so cool. Again, she'll put in the comments the things that she mentioned. And then if you have questions, just reach out to us and we will be in touch. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.